Welcome back to the channel. My name's Tom, and today I'm taking a look at Oxford Valley Mall in Langhorne, Pennsylvania. Once again, I'm asking the question, is this a dead mall, a dying mall, or is it doing just fine? Well, in this case, I would say it probably falls under the category of dying mall, but I could see someone arguing that it is actually dead. But come along with me and let me know what you think. The original anchor stores were JCPenney, Bamberger's, Gimbel's, and Wanamaker's. There was also a Woolworth's at one point, but I'm not sure when that opened. And as usual, the only remaining original anchor store is JCPenney. The first thing I noticed about this mall was how dark this hallway was. There's barely any lights on. In fact, most of the lighting in this mall is natural light from the outside, which is fine, and I'm sure it saves on electricity, but it does lead to some parts of the mall being darker than I think they probably should be. Another thing I notice about this mall is that there are a lot of vacant storefronts. I've definitely seen malls with way more vacancies than this, but there are enough vacancies here for me to think that this mall is probably in trouble. Also, this was filmed on a Monday at about 2 p.m., so definitely not going to be the busiest time of the day for them, but I would think there should be more shoppers than this if this were a healthy mall. Straight ahead, this is where the original anchor store Wanamaker's used to be. It became a Hex store in 1995, then Strawbridge's in 1997, and then finally a Boscov's in 2006. The Boscov's closed after 2 years in 2008, and then the location was vacant until 2022 when the entire building was demolished. So behind that wall there, as far as I know, is just an empty lot at this point. Here's a map of the mall, and right now we're all the way at the top in that maroon area, and we're going to be walking down the map all the way to the Macy's at the end of the hallway. When I was doing my research on this mall, I was able to get a lot of information on the anchor stores and the former anchor stores, but I couldn't find too much on what was in these smaller storefronts here. So if you've been here before and you know what used to be in these empty stores, definitely let me know in the comments. And don't forget, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment, and hit that notification bell. I've got a lot more mall videos coming up, as well as store walkthroughs and, of course, flea markets. Thanks. It's currently a Simon Mall, but it was developed by the Kravco company and opened in 1973, just a few years after the neighboring Neshaminy Mall opened. The two malls are only about 6 miles apart and at one point shared some of the same anchor stores. This of course led to some rivalry between the malls, and from what I've read, many people seem to consider, or at least used to consider, Oxford Valley Mall to be the superior mall. Today though, I'm not so sure I can easily tell you which mall feels like the superior mall to me, because they both seem to be shadows of their former selves. The mall had its first major renovation done in 1989. As part of the renovation, they added the current marble floors, tropical plants, new lighting, and a generally lighter colored paint scheme, which they still have today. As you can see in these photos of the mall that were taken before the 1989 renovation, the mall used to have a very 1970s look with a very brown, beige, and orange-yellow type color scheme. Personally, I love that 70s look, but purely for nostalgic reasons. I can definitely see why the mall's owners at the time thought that the mall needed updating. Here's the JCPenney, and like I mentioned earlier, it's the only remaining original anchor store. There was another renovation done in 1995. During that renovation, they added the food court in the space formerly occupied by the second floor of Woolworths. The Woolworths used to be located straight ahead where Moda, New York, I'm not sure how you say that, is located today. They also removed the amazing spiral staircase and water fountain that was located just about where I'm standing now and replaced it with the current elevator and stairs. They also removed most of the mall's other fountains except for the one outside, which I somehow missed. They upgraded the AC and also added some additional bathrooms. The Sears and JCPenney also got renovations at that time. And as far as I can tell, since the 1995 renovations, there really haven't been that many updates to this mall. As far as the design of the mall goes, I'd say it's fairly standard as far as the layout goes. The only thing that kind of makes it somewhat interesting currently is this ceiling here with the exposed scaffolding. I think if it still had all the water fountains and the staircases and the tropical plants, which you're not going to find any plants in here at all today, if it still had all that, I would probably say this is a pretty amazing mall. But like most Simon malls, I would say it's fairly sterile at this point and just overall kind of boring. Straight ahead, this is where the original anchor store Gimbel's was located. Gimbel's became Stearns in 1986, and then Stearns became Sears in 1989. The Sears finally closed in 2019, and the space remains vacant to this day. Here's a picture of what this area looked like, I think before the 89 renovations, just based on the floor tiles there. But as you can see, there used to be a water fountain here too. I've seen these chessboards and checkerboards at a couple other malls, but I don't think I've ever seen anybody actually playing a game on them. From what I understand, like its rival, the Neshaminy Mall, this mall was doing fairly well up until sometime around the mid to late 2000s. It seems like the downturn probably started around 2008 or so when the Boscovs closed, and then the mall took another hit in 2019 when the Sears closed. That same year, in 2019, the mall's owner, Simon Property Group, announced a proposal to redevelop the mall as a mixed-use property, which generally means adding housing, office space, and restaurants. In this case, they decided to build a 600-unit apartment complex in the parking lot where Boscov's used to be, as well as a fitness center, restaurants, and a so-called lifestyle center, which in my experience seems to mean turning some of the indoor mall into an outdoor mall, much like they're doing at the nearby Neshaminy Mall and also Monmouth Mall in New Jersey. As part of this redevelopment, they demolished the old Boscov's building in 2022, and as we'll see in a few minutes when I do a drive around, the construction of the apartment complex is well underway. At this time, though, I'm not sure if more of the mall is going to be demolished. Straight ahead, this is where the original anchor store Bamberger's was located until 1986, when it became the Macy's. Here's a picture of what it looked like back when this was Bamberger's, and once again, there used to be a water fountain right here. have to admit, this is a pretty impressive view. I think it's mostly because of the ceiling, which kind of vaguely reminds me of London's Crystal Palace. Not exactly, but it's close. Alright, so now I'll stop talking for a little bit and we can take in the ambiance of the mall. Luckily, they were not blasting any copyrighted music during this entire video. I always love taking a ride in these glass elevators, so let's take this one for a quick ride, and then we'll continue on with the second floor.
So scary, like, bro, we're lying.
Yo, keep lying, I'll put you on the elevator.
Here's the food court, which was added in 1995, and this used to be the second floor of Woolworth's. Hey, good. No, thanks. So I've mentioned this before, but I think how many restaurants are open versus closed in a food court can be one indicator as to how well a mall is doing. And this one is doing about middle of the road. I've definitely seen worse, but I've definitely seen better. At my count, at the time I filmed this, I think there were 4 to 5 closed restaurants and 7 open restaurants. However, a couple of the closed ones did say that there was a new restaurant coming soon, so it's entirely possible that today a few of those closed restaurants are now open. But at the time I filmed this, which was back in May of 2024, roughly 40% of the restaurants were closed. And this mall does have a full-size arcade. This one's called Game Box Arcade. They also have that little alcove when we entered where there were a few claw machines, but I don't really consider that an arcade. This one, though, is pretty nice. It's got a good selection of actual games, so it's not just claw machines. There's actual video games in here. It's very heavy on racing games, which is not necessarily a bad thing. And also they use quarters instead of those cards, which is also a major plus for me. They've got Off-Road Challenge, Hydro Thunder, Nicktoons Racing, I guess that says. I've never heard of that one before. Jumbo Safari, never heard of that. Of course, every arcade nowadays has to have that Terminator machine. Surprised they don't have a Halo machine, which seems to be the most common arcade machine I see nowadays. That one's not working. And a couple of NASCAR games. Another motorcycle game. Yeah, lots of racing games in here. But overall, I would say I approve of this arcade. Thumbs up. Alright, so there's the inside of the mall, but don't go anywhere yet. Next we're going to do a drive around the mall and see what it looks like from the outside. Here's that 600-unit apartment building I was talking about. This used to be a parking lot for Boscov's. Here's a picture of what it used to look like. And again, this was filmed back in May of this year, so they're pretty far along at this point. I wouldn't be shocked if they were done now. And then this here, straight ahead, this used to be the Boscov's. It's just completely gone now. Then here's the JCPenney, which again I'm fairly certain has been here since opening day. And I would guess that they haven't updated the outside since then. At least not significantly. I thought this was kind of odd. This is an office building. It's one Oxford Valley. It's not physically attached to the mall, but it's maybe 10 feet from the mall. And according to the internet, I looked it up, I guess this was built with the mall back in 1973 and then was renovated in 86. It looks a lot newer to me than that, but yeah, apparently this has been here since the mall opened. Very strange. And I love these old lamps. I'm pretty sure these are original to the mall too. Here's the Macy's, which was Bamberger's up until 1986. And if you look closely under the Macy's sign, you see those little holes. I'm guessing those holes were for mounting the Bamberger sign. Here's the Sears building. The Sears was here from 89 to 2019. And before that it was Gimbel's originally, and then it became Stearns in 86. And if you look very, very closely, you can still see the label scar where it used to say Sears. And there you have it. That is Oxford Valley Mall in Langhorne, Pennsylvania. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment, and hit that notification bell. I've got a lot more mall videos coming up, as well as store walkthroughs and, of course, flea markets. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.